2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, bringing you our live stream today from the edge of the Great Red Divide. You can find all of our previous works at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, all podcast platforms, YouTube, and proudly part of the Demcast USA network. You can find us live streaming every Tuesdays and Thursday at 3 p.m. Be sure and jump on, submit your questions, make comments, whatever you want to do. But like, subscribe, and share, because progressive voices must be heard. And especially this one today, Marie, because the misinformation out there about what's going on at the southwest border of the United States in Texas and Arizona right now, the misinformation is disgusting. It's typical Republican railing racism
And
cries.
you know,
And
we need
I'm
to
just
get to the
sick of it.
bottom a little bit here, Heidi. We need to get a
Yeah.
little bit to the bottom of what is happening.
Yeah.
And why
Yeah.
it's happening, right? You
Right.
know, I think that's going to be really important that we talk about the problem that exists. And that's right now we are seeing a very large influx of people from other countries seeking asylum, looking for a new home, and various other reasons to come to another country. I mean, keep in mind it's a very difficult journey. It's thousands of miles with nothing but the clothes you have on your back. So it's an exhaustive journey. It's not as if everybody gets in the Honda Pilot and drives up the Brazilian coast to come to America. So we know that the situation has to be incredibly direly desperate
Dire.
for you to do that. I'd
Dire.
like to ask our listeners to take 1 second for me, just 1 second, and think: is there anything? What would be so horrible that you would pick up your family and move to Canada and leave your job, leave your home, leave everything you have? So that's how bad it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Leave your what's left of your family, leave your pets, leave your everything you have, your grandmother's china, your whatever it is that you have that you would leave. The desperation you must feel has got to be overwhelming. And we have just, this country is still recovering from 4 years of the previous president trying to dismantle every single government program, dismantle our government, because that was the goal. Bill Barr was very clear at CPAC that the whole goal of the Trump presidency was to dismantle the U.S.
Oh,
government.
let's remember. Yeah, it was big creepy dude that said that. Not Bill Barr was
Steve
totally in
Bannon.
agreement with it, but it was
Oh,
in
I'm sorry. It was
2017,
Steve
Steve
Bannon.
Bannon. But Bill
Steve
Barr
Bannon. I'm sorry.
wholly endorsed that philosophy. Now, we have
Well,
to give him a little bit of credit here. All right? I'm going to say this. All of our viewers don't hate us for this. But on the plus side, the horrible treatment and ridiculously needless pain that was inflicted upon people fleeing other countries kept people from hitting the
from
border.
coming.
They just stayed outside of the area waiting for that opportunity.
Well, what happened during the stay in Mexico, the build the wall, there's a caravan coming. Those are all racist rallying cries that Republicans love. I mean, you can't make it any more racist than that. And the problems in Central America, in Honduras, in Guatemala, in Nicaragua, are problems that we, the United States, caused over 100 years ago, and have done nothing to improve, but have exacerbated it over the last 10, 11, 12 decades. And the fact that we make messes down there and we never go back and clean them up. If any of you have a chance and you're still looking for Netflix to watch, go back and watch a silly little show called My Little Margie back from the 40s. And My Little Margie is a black and white movie, and all she's talking about is getting the Marines out of Nicaragua. That was part of the stupid crap that we did down there. And that's how long even Hollywood has been talking about it. So now we have this problem. We have kids pouring over the border, and kids, I mean 18 and under. Most of them are under the age of 16, and they're coming in as unaccompanied. That means they're not with their parents. And, the Trump administration had a policy during the last 4 years where they would take these kids that would cross the border, or any adults that they've caught, no matter what country they came from, and just put them back over the border into Mexico. You could be Honduran, you could be Guatemalan, you could be Nicaraguan, you could be Panamanian, you could be Colombian, and they would just throw you back into Mexico. You don't know anybody. Your dialect, Spanish dialect, is completely different. You have no money. You have nothing. You have just walked thousands of miles to try to get away from whatever horrible thing that has happened. They had 2 catastrophic hurricanes in Central America last year alone. And the Trump administration said, back to Mexico, because to them, every brown-skinned person is Mexican.
What belongs
Marie.
in Mexico. Which brings us to the point of now the myths and the lies that you're hearing, right? Like, and there is some, remember, the best lie is one where there's a grain of truth, right? So there's a nugget of truth in these things, such as the children are distractions for drug cartels. They are. It is.
They always have been.
However, that is not the majority, nor is it the children fleeing. It's the manipulation of the cartels to combine all of those children at once, creating the problem. And these children are they're not necessarily cartel children. They're being used in an abusive fashion. And, as a nation, we've been through 4 years of what I would consider abuse. Not upholding values that I considered American or democratic. I thought about fleeing to Canada, and they said they wouldn't take us when COVID hit, and I was really worried. I was like, I may need asylum somewhere. But the point is that these people they're doing it for humanitarian reasons. They need to leave. And now that they know they will be welcomed, or at least given a fair chance, they're going to have an opportunity to present their case. Remember, they refused entry to any foreigner at any port of entry during the Trump administration. So, our law was you should be able to come into a port of entry, wherever that is, give all your information and declare you're seeking asylum.
If you were a Swede seeking asylum, like anybody would really leave Sweden, you were accepted because you were blonde and blue-eyed and white-skinned, But if you're brown, if you're Syrian and you're fighting a civil, tired of the civil war that we helped create, you're not welcome here. Do
you think anybody in the Republican Party understands the difference in people who, we know they have their shades of way, acceptable shades of way card. It's kind of like one of those paint chips. I think that the KKK is releasing their own paint line. Transparent, like ghost, pasty, less pasty, and I think the darkest shade gets to here. I don't think they really understand that every nation and every culture is different. And the worst part is they're manipulating this, Heidi. We see the media, even media that is left of what people would consider like MSNBC are jumping on this story and giving it so much fire. And it is an important story. There is something happening.
It is.
But the more important story is what we're doing about it, not the inflammatory rhetoric that now the Republican Party is going to use to unite them, right? They're going to push it.
Trump got elected because of a caravan that didn't exist that was coming.
Right? No. Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah.
And then in 2018,
he pulled it out again. There's an even bigger caravan coming. Look out, white people, brown people are coming your way. Murray.
And because the administration lied about everything, you had no idea to know what was real and what wasn't.
Yeah, you don't know. And here's what they tell you. Those brown people could be with ISIS.
Oh, that's Kevin McCarthy's newest line, is that Syrian and ISIS fighters are crossing the world.
How are they getting to Mexico in the first place?
I don't know. No. He says they're coming from South America, and they're working
their
way
getting
up
there? We're in a global
infiltrate.
Pandemic.
to
We're in a global
infiltrate.
pandemic, people. World travel is way down. If
May we
you
remind
are,
our listeners that a majority, all but what, two of the 9/11 terrorists did not enter the country through Mexico. They came through Canada. And Canada
they
doesn't
came
want
into
us.
Canada.
So I'm gonna have to say
No,
that's a red herring. I think they're
that's a
pulling our leg here. Just my
yeah.
guess.
And here's the other thing, Marie. The people coming in were not Syrian. They were from Saudi Arabia. Our our friend.
Again,
Oh,
all
so
again, how the
all brown,
GOP views it, all brown people look the same.
all brown.
To me, all
You
white
know
guys
what?
look the same. I can't tell them apart. Fat white guys? I don't know why, but they all look the same to me.
Especially when they wear a red hat that says MAGA on it.
That
They
does
always
help
look
with
good.
the.
Yeah, you're looking for the beer belly and the missing teeth at that point. But Murray, here's where we're at right now. We had a crisis at the border for decades. We had, and I'm going to roll us back a little bit to the Great Depression when people were out of work and the Dust Bowl times, and the Mexican Americans, U.S. citizens that were of Mexican descent, were labeled as a problem and deported to Mexico. Now, we had some of those deportations too under the Trump administration, but the Mexican Americans got blamed for the Great Depression when they had nothing to do with it. They were migrant laborers. So they threw them in the 30s, 20s, and 30s, threw them back into Mexico.
America really likes throwing people in boxes. I've come to find out
They
in
do.
cages.
They do.
It's
Japanese
quite
people in World War
a it's
II.
quite a fondness. Native Americans or
Well,
indigenous
yeah.
people. We forget that they threw Jews in Jewish children in concentration camps when they first came over to the United States until they could Americanize them and then verify that they had an American home to go to. We forget just how absolutely horrible our history is of treating people
Treating
that are not
Italians and
white males
Irish and
badly.
Chinese.
White male
Right.
Christian.
Right. So here's what we did, because all of a sudden it dawned on us, 1942, just before the start of World War II, that we didn't have enough people to pick our vegetables. And we started this Bracero program where we invited migrant workers to come into our, to California, Texas, Arizona to pick our stuff. You know what we paid them, Marie? We paid 30 cents on the dollar for them to come here. It was slave labor. The Bracero program was, and we did a story long, long, long ago on that. Murray was actually not here for that. I had a friend of mine sit in for Murray. And the problem with the Bracero program is it was full of abuses and human trafficking. And we need a program like that again. But we have to make sure, in my take on that back when we did that show, is that if we do it again, we should do it through the United Farm Workers, where everybody has a union card and has those union protections. And that's for another day. But what we need to talk about is how, we brought them back in, we let them work for 30 cents on the dollar, and then in the 50s, we ended it and kicked them back out, and we had some that flowed back and forth just to pick crops. Sometimes they go clear to Michigan and pick blueberries, even for Walmart. And then we changed our child labor laws. And
That's
Reagan
a different
comes
group. I want to make sure our listeners are clear that
migrant laborers are
migrant
completely
labor is a separate group
issue
than the immigrants at the border, than
right.
refugees, than asylum seekers. So
And you can
the
be
back
a
and
refugee
forth.
from Mexico. You can be a refugee from Guatemala. You can be a refugee from Nicaragua. Duh, people. We have turned
I
that
tried
into
to be a
crap
refugee
hole
to
down
Canada
there.
from America, and they told me our show wasn't big enough yet. So, hey, Canada, we're like in the top 10 up there? Hey, you hear us. Push us to number 1. Well, now that we have Biden, we don't need to lead, but
We
keep us
promised
in
to buy
mind in
Tim
case stuff
Hortons.
goes south.
We'll buy all the Tim Hortons. I love Illinois. I'm not ever leaving. But right now, Murray, getting back to this, here's what's happening. Last month, there was about 300 kids per day that came into the United States. And what happens to those kids is within 72 hours, 3 days, they connect them to a relative. They get like a health check and make sure that they're okay, and then they send them to their relative so they can go and stay and be safe. They have to report back to immigration then because they have hearings and so on. So when last month it was about 300, this month it's just short of 600 kids per day, and these are minors. These are kids that are under the age of 18, and in the United States we don't let kids that age just walk free and go without some place to go. We know that they're in danger. If you just take a bunch of 9-year-olds and say, okay, your 72 hours is up, see ya, what are they going to do, Murray? Nothing. There's nothing they can do. They're
Right.
little
Taking
children.
care
So you
of
have
their
to take care of
safety is.
them.
Wait a minute. Stop, Heidi. It's been a long 4 year, 8 year, 12 years. Wait a second. For a long time, we've kind of been dicky to people coming here for help, right? We've talked about that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should. You mean this administration is saying that we should treat people humanely and like
Well,
people? No, no, no,
we're
no, no.
saying that
I'm not used to
we're
this.
saying that we have to honor the Constitution that allows people to come here for safety, that allows them to come here for asylum, and allows them to come here and then report back after 72 hours for their hearings. And you know what? There's about a 98% participation
But the large part of the
with
problem
that.
is the length of time in order to get those hearings, because the immigration courts have been horribly underfunded. They have been destroyed and dismantled, and there's no
Oh,
processing system, which
dismantled in the
leads us
last
to the
4 years.
larger problem of we need an immigration reform system that can sustain the challenges that we are going to face as the world doesn't take global warming seriously. We need to have a
Right.
robust immigration program in place.
We do, Murray, and
And Biden, if you're listening, President, sir, I'd like a reciprocal one with another country that's nice in case something bad happens, like the last 4 years.
listen,
Could you do that too?
do you know how beautiful Nicaragua and Panama and Guatemala are? Honduras, they're beautiful countries. Unfortunately, partly due to the United States, they've been so badly mismanaged that they don't have the opportunity to flourish like Costa Rica does, like Panama does, like Nicaragua does. There's certain parts of those that are very lush and green and wonderful and touristy, but crime has bedeviled El Salvador. It's bedeviled Honduras
Corruption
and
as well.
Guatemala.
And we are
Yeah.
partially responsible for that corruption and that
Yeah.
and that plague. Our government kind of set all this in motion because it's only advantageous
Yeah,
to
we do.
take things from others that can't do anything back to us, and they have to have something good.
Mercantilism,
Mercenary capitalism.
mercantilism.
Heidi, we just talked about this on our Medicare for All mail-a-thon show, which is going to be coming out tomorrow in honor of St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, mercantilism, mercenary capitalism. That's it. You nailed it.
yeah. So let's talk about these kids. So you have in I hate to say in custody right now, but that is legitimately what it's called, is in custody. We have about 4,500 kids. About 3,000 of those have been there longer than 3 days. If you've got 565 kids per day coming over the border right now, there's no way you can process them quickly. Make sure you connect them with the adults that can take care of them.
And remember,
Verify
we
that
dismantled all of those systems, so we wouldn't have
dismantled
to do
everything.
that. So we have nothing there.
Yeah. And the other problem is some of them are coming right out of the stay in Mexico camps that Trump helped exacerbate down there, where he said you have to stay in Mexico until you have a hearing, which can take 11 to 17 years. So you have to stay in Mexico. And those camps are right over the border, and they are squalid, and they are filthy, and there's no running water, and there's bugs and pestilence and hunger and
And
crime
COVID-19.
and COVID-19, because we're in a global pandemic.
And
So,
COVID likes damp, close quarters. They have fun with that.
yeah. When you can't social distance because you can't social distance, you're going to catch COVID. And these camps, these camps in the stay in Mexico camps, are just loaded with people with COVID. And there's very little medical treatment. Now, Mexico is more than an emergent nation. I mean, Mexico is an incredible place. But these camps were something that Mexico didn't want and got stuck with, right? Trump stuck them with them. And they're like, now you've made a
So
humanitarian crisis
we created a
huge,
bottleneck
bigger.
and an even bigger problem. Instead of addressing this issue
Yep.
long ago, we just kept making the problem worse and denying the problem was
Yep.
there. So if you deny
Every
that there's a
president needs to
problem,
take down the
sure,
road.
Trump's policy kept
Yeah.
them away from our door because he put them in horrible, nasty little camps in border countries, and it was
High
awful.
mortality rates.
High mortality
Yeah.
rates. So all we did was just prolong the inevitable flood that we're facing. So when you hear the media,
Right.
this ticks me off because this is what we do. And when you hear them pumping even the more liberal leaning crisis, so many children, feeding on that sensationalism, yes, but we need to address why and how we're going to fix it.
Right.
That this is not a
Well,
problem of 2 months in the making. This is
you can't, no,
this is an 80-year problem.
this really is, Murray. And you know, when kids and adults that come over as seeking asylum, because the kids are literally walking over the border and turning themselves in right away. They're not trying to enter illegally. They're not trying to circumvent the system. They're trying to work within the systems that are in place. But about 46% are coming over on some days. It's as high as 46% with positive for COVID. Well, you can't release them in 3 days. You have to wait till the COVID runs its course. They need medical attention. You cannot just throw them out on the streets in 3 days, AOC. It won't matter. I don't care if Uncle whoever is there to pick them up. If they're COVID positive, they have to stay and get treated for COVID and get over it and be well before they can come out into the U.S. population. We learned that with guppies, for God's sake. Why is this a problem to understand? And I love AOC. I think she's amazing, but she's way off base on this. Way off base. So, everybody would love to take that COVID positive child home and cradle it and take care of it. You can't.
But in the
We're
middle of a
global
pandemic, and we don't have the systems in place to adequately take care of those needs. And do we have enough of the systems in place to release a COVID positive child to a family member who then could
No.
get the entire family infected? Until
Really
we get
sick.
farther along in the vaccines, we need to make the conditions 1,000 times better than what they were, and do everything we can to open up more immigration lanes, to get more immigration courts, get things flowing, get processing flowing. But again, until the pandemic dies down, I think it would be irresponsible
It is
to
it would be very irresponsible, Murray, to let
and
the
make a
kids
bigger
go.
problem, which is what we like to do in this country. We like to just keep making problems bigger.
You cannot let unaccompanied minors loose in this country. We wouldn't do that to our own white children. Why would we do this to children?
I let
from
mine
south of
loose
the
all the
border?
time, but mine are like
Yeah,
feral
but they have
dogs.
a home and a bed, and they have a home and a bed and
They know
food
where
and
to
stuff to
come.
come.
I don't make them
vacation.
come home, but
Yeah.
they know where to come.
But they know that they always have that, and they have parents there. These kids have nothing, and we now here's one huge difference in how the Biden administration is handling it. Trump farmed us out to his for-profit prison buddies to set up migrant camps. Remember, we still don't know where some of these kids are, what happened to them,
I
right?
believe last count there's still 163 kids unaccounted for.
We don't know. So what the
We have
Biden
a lot to
administration
make
did
up
is
for. We have a lot to make up for as a nation. So anybody who's giving you this BS line about America first, well, maybe this is America going, damn it, sorry, we are mercenary capitalistic pigs who kept making this problem worse. It's time America stands up
Well,
and fixes it. This
have
time
to
for
stand up and
real.
fix it.
From our
Now,
own.
I
It
wish-
fixes it internally,
Yeah.
not by putting it on someone else.
I wish the Biden administration had been better prepared, but so many of the cabinet members have not. There is some type of hinky crap going on in the Senate right now to approve the cabinet members. They're dragging their feet. If it's a person of color or a woman candidate, they are dragging their feet and trying to drag
Or
stuff up so that
if
they don't
they
get
have
approved.
ever tweeted or deleted a tweet, they deny your cabinet member.
Well,
Even our own
Maureen-
Democrats, thank Joe Manchin. Thanks. You sat by when every cockroachy white man you approved, and because
Brett
this
Kavanaugh.
woman was a little firm, Lord, we got to do a misogyny show someday, girl.
You know, Murray, why I can never run for a cabinet position or be because God, if you look up my tweet history, not good. Truly Heidi Henry. That's my handle.
And
Truly
speaking
Heidi
of
Henry.
that,
So look me up.
Heartland Mamas, MAMAS, if you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, share, donate. Huge shout out to one of our viewers, Joan. Thank you so much. That was amazing. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all of our other viewers who donate, but you can do that and it would make us really happy. So feel free. And
So
we
go
hope we
to our
gave you some
website. Yeah,
information
go to our
today.
website to donate. Yeah. And I'm Murray, I just want to wrap this up by saying I'm positive that the Biden administration and FEMA are going to do a good job down there. Just let's give them some time to get their act together. And
I agree.
Senate, approve the damn cabinet members so people can do their damn jobs. Quit impeding things. You know, quit constipating the issue.
So be sure to
We
come
got it
back
all
on
stopped up.
Thursday, live, 3 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. You can also catch us if you miss us on Buzzsprout, anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, on YouTube, and on our independent radio show, Heartland Mamas Unrolled. So check out our website, Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com. We'll see you later, everybody. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thanks.